Hi, we live, and this is day 3 of our 5-day workshop. So, as I said yesterday, we're halfway through. How do you feel? Do you know? Did you learn something so far? Well, tonight is a good night because we're going to talk about our clients. We have, starting from the first day, we have our niche. I'm just looking at my other computer next to me. So we have the niche, we validate and create it. What is our service? What are we going to give the client? And who is our perfect client? And then day 2, we worked on the niche and the client and how are we going to serve them? And how are we going to get our client? Then we looked at branding and lead generation. And this is what we will have to look at tonight. But as this is not as important as the niche and the client, and the other important thing is how do we talk to our client and where do we get our clients? So we were looking at organic marketing in Facebook, where you get organic traffic. This means free traffic. They're much more reliable and they're much more, how can I say, it's not cold traffic that doesn't know you. Organic traffic, you build a relationship with. You talk to them, you connect with them, you engage with them, and they understand you. And then after that, they start connecting with you and you build a relationship, and that's how you build very loyal clients instead of just having cold clients who doesn't know you and who doesn't know what you're doing. And if you just send out an email, they have no clue who they're talking to and they will definitely not buy from you. So let's look at the branding and lead generation. Last night we already touched on this and we already went into what are we going to do. So with branding, I mentioned that you have to brand yourself, use different colors or your specific colors to what you think you like and how you will use them always if you post something or you do something, that you have your, can I say, the baseline colors that you stick to and that people start recognizing your post when it gets out. The other thing, your lead generation. How are we going to get leads? Now, earlier tonight, I did my Lundi Live on Wednesdays that I always do at 7, and I was talking at 3 different ways that we can get our leads. So the 3 different ways that I mentioned is that we leverage clients that's not in our structure, but from outside. And what I mean with that, that we look at Facebook groups in the same niche, doing the same thing, and we start communicating with those clients. We start connecting with them. We don't send links to them. We start connecting with them and we start talking to them and build our relationship. And this is how we pull the clients into us. We also will give them our lead magnet, something free that they can use. And if you can remember, last night I said we don't give ebooks because there's too many books around, we don't read them. And if it's even digital, it collects digital dust because we don't read it. Our clients want to have something that they can immediately take action, something like a checklist that they immediately can use, or a template, or something that they can immediately implement. After you give it to them, they can look through it and they can immediately implement what you told them. And this is what the clients like: short and sweet and straight to the point of focus. So this is what they like, and this is how you can hook them. And if they see this is your free contribution or value to them, they will think, what is the paid value if the free is so good and I can immediately use it. So this is what we end up yesterday about talking about our client, our niche, and the branding and our lead generation. So we're a little bit ahead of what we have, but already we're going to talk about our organic market, and that is Facebook. So the biggest search engine nowadays is also YouTube. So if you want to use YouTube for organic traffic and you feel comfortable using YouTube, this is also a very good market to bring in clients from. Although Facebook is most popular because all the clients are in Facebook. And as I mentioned, if you type in Google and you search for specific services that you want to give or what you want to do, you will find where your clients is. Look at once we have the client, and now we have to connect with our client and talk to our client. So how are we going to make sure that the client is a good fit for us, that we can work together? Because if you're going to sell a service, you have to validate your client. Is your client a good fit? Will your client benefit from the service that you give them? And what will happen if they don't accept the service? What is the results for them? Are they going to still have their pain points? Are they going to have their problems? Will you be able to, what impact will you make on the client if they take your service? This is why, if you look at clients, this is the most important part of any business. We need marketing and sales, and in those two, the client is the most important part. So when we look at our client and when we decided we have everything in place, now we have to see, is the client a good fit? So I have a little paper that I use, a little template that I use to make sure my client is a good fit before I sign the client up for my next sessions. So first we will set the scene. We will ask them some questions because we have to make sure that the client is a good fit. If I think the client is a fit for me, I must also make sure, can I have an impact on the client, and can I relieve the client from whatever problem or ever pain point they have. So when we talk to the client, this is now when you interact on your first call. You have a first free call with your client and you interact with the client. So first you will say thank you for coming to the call. And even if nothing turns out after the call, you still appreciate the client talking to you. When you start with your call, you will also tell the client that you will ask a few questions, and the call is to evaluate if the two of you can work together, so that the client is not misled from the start. She knows, or he knows, exactly why you have the call. So then you will also identify your next step. So your checkpoint for the first, once you start talking to the client, so you ask the client, are they looking for support? Are they wanting some help? Will they sign up for help if you can find them something that will support the pain point or support their problem? So automatically you evaluate, how is the client feeling? Is she a good fit for you to carry on with whatever service you're giving the client? Then number two, we look at triage and audit, because now we're going to audit and see, where is the client in the process. For me, making money online, I would usually ask, do they have a business online? Did they start a business online? Where is they in the business already? If they have one, what is their pain points? What is their problems? What do they need help with? And then I will work through the 9 steps of my 9-step process to see, where is the pain points for the client who's wanting to have an online business. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed is my client to continue? Do she really or he really wants my help? Will they pay for my help? Do they want me to implement more and go deeper into their problem and help them solve the problem? So this is how I do my step 2, where I triage and audit how my client is feeling and how are we going to work together. Then we get to step 3, when you talk on this call, and you make sure that you don't make it a long stretch discussion, because the main thing for the call is to evaluate and to make sure that you and the client can work together. So it's not a friendly call that you discuss a lot of things. From the start, you have to be strict on what are you doing in each step. So step number 3, after you set the scene and you have your triage and your audit, then you talk about the challenges. What is the challenges that your client really have? And will you be able to comply and help with the challenges? Will you be able to remove the challenges and to fix the challenges or the problems? So you will also ask, how much would you invest if you could be 100% sure you had the right plan and right support? So will your client be able to invest? And if they say no, then this is where you will see, don't continue further, because it shows you they're not the right client for you, and this is not the person that you as a coach will work with them. Now, once they finish step 3 and they still involved and they still part of what you do and they want to continue with your help, then you go to point number 4. Number 4 is the recommendations. Now you know your client. You know where are they in their business or in their process. You already talked about the challenges. Now you can tell them, you will give them advice and recommendations. Sometimes you cannot help them. Sometimes you will be able to help them, but not 100%. So this is now where you will explain exactly what your service will do for them. So here it sounds like you're ready to solve the problem for them. If they're ready to accept that you can solve the problem, then you can say, I would like to make some suggestions. Then you can also say, because I have my online business coaching program for 90 days to make sure that after 90 days, the business is off the ground and things are running smoothly. I don't want to press it all in 30 days, and I know it's not feasible. The client will be under stress. And with all the other things that happen, we have family life, children, schooling, all these things. You don't want to put the client under stress and pressure. And that's why I do mine over 3 months. And I know in 3 months, I can benefit the client from what I can give her. And with my previous students, it worked perfectly well. If they work a little bit faster and they finished before the time, we still have time to make sure everything is in place. So we can tell the client in the recommendation area or the recommendation session that we have, to achieve your 90-day goals, there are 3 things we need to fix. And then you mention what are the 3 problems that you, with your discussion with your client, find in the business. You can say there's a roadmap with the 3 phases, and this is what we're going to do. She has the niche, she has the client, but she doesn't have branding. So now we have to work on branding. Or she doesn't have the organic market. She never used Facebook, or she never used in one of the social media platforms. So we have to work on that. So you will tell the client, this is what we're going to do. Then we will ask the client, what is your confidence level that if you did these 3 things, your desired outcome will happen? Because the client also have an expectation of what we're going to do for them. And if they have expectation and we build up the expectation here in their mind, we have to serve and make sure that they reach the expectation and the goals that we set into their minds. Now, the next step, step 5 in this call, we can tell them that you have a program designed to help, to achieve, and it will work in 90 days. So this is where you focus on what makes your program unique. Why do you have this service? Why is it unique that the client have to use you? Is there anybody else in the vicinity? Is there anybody else that she can use? Is there something else that she can do? Why does they need your service? Then we will emphasize that you know your client well and it will work with people who are the right fit. So you tell your client, because you know this is the client and this is the fit, and you worked with clients before and you had good results, you can even share results with her or him to show that you have a good outcome. So then you can also ask, do you think that if we work together, you'd be able to get better results? Because we also have to have a feel about our client. What do the client feel about this whole discussion on the phone? So now we have gone through most of what we need to know. Now we get to the invitation, because this is our 30-minute strategy plan or discovery call. What we will name it, it all depends what you want to call it. But now we have to go to the invitation. So we will tell the client, based on everything we discussed, I know I can help you and I love you to join us in our program. Now, this is where the client will wait and ask, what does it cost? What we want to do? So this may feel the need to keep talking, but it's critical that once you say that, you have to be quiet. Give your client time to think what you mentioned. You just told her you've got everything in place, you know what's the problem, you can fix it, and does she wants to work with you? Then you be quiet. The client has to make a decision. She's already halfway there. She knows what you discussed. He knows what you discussed. So now give them time to think about this and then they can answer. So this is how you work with your client. If we start with the enrolling call or the discovery call or strategic call, whatever you want to call it, this is what we will do to our client. And this is how you slowly involve your client and make sure that you address their pain points, their problem areas, and that you will be able to fix that areas where they have the problems. So can you see why it's very important to understand what is your niche, what are you looking for, and who is your client? Which client are you working with? Because you have to narrow it down to say, I'm just doing this. You can't work with a niche healthcare. It's too broad. What in healthcare are you looking at? Are you looking at psychiatric health, maybe mental illness? Are you looking at pregnant women? Are you looking at old age, maybe geriatric patients? So you have to make sure that you niche down, because when you get to this call with all these different questions, you have to be able to work around exactly your client, their problem, and what you can solve for them. So I hope this makes sense in the way I explain this from day 1, day 2, and day 3. And I hope you already see in which direction we go. So if you want to build your business online, you start with from start to finish. Let's see what I did here. I'm just looking at the book. The workbook, we have the roadmap. So we did our expertise, we did our offer, because we work around, once we have our expertise and our client, we work around what is our offer that we will give them. The perfect client, the Facebook marketing, then we will look at branding. And yesterday we also talked at lead magnet, that we don't give them an ebook, we give them something that they can immediately implement. And then tonight we talked about the strategy session, where we, can we say, we qualify them to make sure they fit what we want, we can do for them. So this is where we qualify them on our first call. It's also free. The client don't pay for this call. It's free. So once they listen, once they find this is a problem, the lady or the man, whoever they're talking to, can help me, and they decide to sign up, this is what you will do. Just what we went through now. And this is how I also work with my 90-day program. If people want a specific area, they can do one call and pay $97. And I will handle that area in one call and give them all the information, the templates, and everything that goes with that. Then for each area that they want, say for instance, you don't want the whole 90 days and the whole 9 steps. If you just need the traffic area and maybe your perfect client, then you just book for 2 calls, pay for each call, and we handle that in this time until you're happy that you have your problem solved, and then we can move on from there. If you want the whole 3 months with every step in place, making sure from start to finish that you have exactly what you need, then the price would be $750, $250 per month. As I'm going to go through training sessions every week, we have one-to-one calls every week, and the 3 steps, I will go into all 9 steps again, but go deeper into each step as I just touch the surface of each one to give you an idea of how the roadmap works and how it helps you to get to the real results. Because today, if you look at the internet, it's overloaded with a lot of things. So we have to make sure that we're clear on what is the service we're going to give. And that's why we plan it out in this way and make sure that you know exactly what you're going to help your client. This is tonight, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you again tomorrow night at 9.